So, many people have been asking me about my articulated figures and how do I make them. So, today I just wanted to give you a little insight on how I make these figures and how they're created and how do I make them the way they are. So, today I'll be showing that off and the idea, and I'll be showing you the materials I use in this process. So, alright, hold on, I had to step back real quick. Alright, so I just finished this today. Stegosaurus. This is my most articulated figure to this day. To date. Well, actually, it's my most articulated figure to date. And has a really, really good range of movement. So, neck segments, all the pieces move. The neck, the arms move. Both sides actually move the same. The legs can move back, forth. Same thing with the other one. And then the tail has the most range of all. So, many people have been asking me, how do I make this? Well, starters, I use the materials. So the main two materials that I use are polymer clay, Super Sculpey specifically, and wires, like this. And the main format is this. I just drew this, literally just drew this. This isn't the most detailed drawing I've ever done, but it's not supposed to be. This is just a basic outline on how I made the Stegosaurus. So, each piece on the outside that isn't one of these lines are made out of the clay that you see up there. They are sculpted to fit one another and just line up perfectly with each other. I took some inspiration from some of the figures I have, like Beast of the Mesozoic, maybe one or two SH Monster Art stuff, but ultimately this is how figures line up. See how the pieces on the tail line up in segments like this? In contrast to my Torvosaurus, which is one of my older figures, that has a more, well, not really intersegmented tail like this. It's segmented, it's articulated, but not in the same way as this one. It interlocks with the Stegosaurus when it doesn't with the Torvo. I made the Stegosaurus to go with the Torvosaurus specifically anyway. That's why I showed them off together a lot in the photos. So, the outside pieces, everything else out here, that's just clay. The wires are fitting inside. That's how the joints move. So what I usually do is I sculpt the body first, give it the general shape, general outline. Then for the pieces, for the parts that I want articulated, I put wires in each part first. So what a leg should be, what a arm should be, what a tail is, what a neck is. Then I put the body in the oven and I cook it in there for 9 minutes, temperature 365. You could put it around like 275 at the lowest, but it would take a little longer. So I usually put it in there for like 365 as the temperature and then have it in there for like 9 or 10 minutes. Then after that, I cool off the body and then I just sculpt the rest of the pieces around it over top of the wires and just have it fit around the body. And then whatever pieces I can't fix at that moment, I just put it in the oven, cook it up, and then fix it up when it's all nice, hard, and stable. So the wires fit inside. So you see the tail It's one giant wire set. It's just one giant wire with the pieces over top of the wire. I wanted to use ball joints, but unfortunately I don't have any at all. I might consider using ball joints soon. But you see, it's just they're over top of a wire. Same thing with the neck, the arms, and the legs. So overall, it's just a giant wire. Basically just a body with wires and then parts over top of them. And then to keep the body stable, I also use glue. I use Gorilla Glue and stuff like that to keep the wires in the body while I'm sculpting over the wires, because sometimes the wires might fall out or they might move around too much while I'm sculpting. So I gotta use the glue to keep it in stable. And then for the stuff like the neck and the tail, these parts float. They're more like floating pieces, and they might fall off. So what I do is, for the head especially, I glued the neck in from the body, obviously. And then I put all of these right here. Then I put glue the head onto the wire so that the head can keep the rest of the body stable, so the neck isn't extending out or just doing any awkward stuff that I don't want it to do. And the same thing applies to like the tail, the arms, and the legs. So yeah, ultimately, those are just how I make my figures. If you wanted to use this as a reference, take a photo of it or anything, just use it as a basic outline. Again, this isn't the most detailed drawing I've ever done, but it's meant to show off the main points, the main reason how these figures work from the inside, and how I get the movement, the articulation. But overall, that's just a basic summary of everything. And as for the paint, oh yeah, I forgot to mention the paint. The paint, I use acrylic and also Liquitex to prevent the paint from scratching. I started using that on my newer figures, so the Torvosaurus doesn't have that. It doesn't have a varnish over it, so it's not like the Stegosaurus, which does have a varnish underneath it, at least for the first layer of paint. But mostly I just use acrylic, since acrylic's the best that I have. So overall, that's the basic summary on everything I have, how I make these figures, and just giving you a little insight on how these things are made. And just for comparison's sake, for figures, because I never got to film this before, here's the Torvosaurus and Stegosaurus directly next to each other. Here's Asphaltovenator, which I forgot to do that. And then lastly, Acrocanthosaurus. It's kind of an awkward position. There you go. Yeah, I got Acrocanthosaurus, Torvosaurus, Asphaltovenator, and Stegosaurus. So overall, those just how I do these figures. This is how I do the figures that I do, how I work them, how they're presented, how they work from the inside. And overall, that should be it for now. Have a blessed day. Stay safe out there.